Welcome back. I'm Matt from Jaggers Brewing Co. Today we're going to talk about a raw ale called I Don't Care. So, as is usual this time of year, pretty hot, humid outside, condensation from the glass, inside, outside temperatures, all that, extremely different. So that's why we got what we have here. Notice it's pretty hazy, and that's a pretty big characteristic of raw ale, right? If you're unfamiliar with raw ales, I'll have some links in the description, cards and all that. We won't dive too hard off into the theories and stuff behind raw ales. I've got a few other videos coming out that will break the components down a little bit more in depth. Excuse me, I'm a little congested, allergies going on right now, so pardon any roughness and all that, but cheers. So basically this one is a little different than I normally do it. I typically use Voss Kveik with my raw ales. I decided this go around to try the Lithuanian Farmhouse yeast. I really like that yeast. I like what it does to this Saaz Farmhouse grain bill that we have going on. So it's the same grain bill, just different yeast, different technique of making it. So what I've noticed with this beer versus the Summer Jam, which the Summer Jam is the same exact grain bill and recipe and all that, is that it's kind of toned down the yeast a little bit. So as far as the nose goes, I'm still picking up on those characteristics that I do in the Summer Jam. A little bit of the clove, a little bit of those phenols, the spicy, the earthiness, right? A little bit of citrus, but it's toned it down a touch. Which is really interesting to me because that yeast is very expressive to begin with. It's not as sharp, not as penetrating for sure. Don't know what's going on in the neighborhood. Sounds like a generator or welder, but pardon that. I'm sure we'll have a few other interruptions. The cicadas have pretty much quit for now, but we'll see what other noise violations happen, right? So yep, it's like I said, it's just muted as far as that goes. It smells wonderful. So as far as the taste goes, it's brought it down a notch too, with the phenols and the spiciness, the clove, the earthiness that you would pick up from the yeast if you fermented it out normally and all that. It's kind of tamed it, I feel like, to probably a little bit more approachable level for some people who have never experienced the yeast. Generally, I feel like that yeast is super expressive to begin with, and so I can see it being off-putting to a lot of people, and I feel like that this has kind of brought it down a few notches. As far as the mouthfeel goes, so it feels a lot thicker, a lot juicier than the Summer Jam did. The Summer Jam was kind of, not really thin, it was just super dry. And so it's kind of deceptive with this one here. So we had the same starting gravity and we had the same finishing gravity as the Summer Jam did, but as you can see with all the haziness here, we have a lot of the protein still left in suspension, right? So like I guess the biotrans morphics or whatever the case is there, we have a lot left still in this beer. It didn't drop out. It didn't clear up. Now there was trub left in the kettle, and there was trub and all that left in the fermenter from fermenting it. So the complete recipe and fermentation and all that notes will be in the description. But having said that, we fermented it at room temperature. So normally, like I said, with the Voskleik, I ferment it at about 95, 93 degrees Fahrenheit or so, and it normally gets done pretty quickly. These raw ales, they kind of move pretty quickly too. The shelf life on them are a little bit shorter, or a lot shorter in most cases, than most beers. I have experienced when bottle conditioning the Voskleik, it's fully carbonated, tastes great and good to go about a week after bottling. This one's been in the keg for a few days. Looks like it needs a little bit more carbonation, but I think it's pretty good right now, as is. In my opinion, for 6.5% or 6.7% beer, I don't think that it's bad at all. I enjoy raw ales. To me, they're kind of harder to describe from the standpoint of beers. I do have a little bit of experience with them, so normally I tell people that it's kind of like a juicy, hazy IPA, kind of meets a Hefeweizen, right? A little thicker mouthfeel. Obviously some haziness to them. It's not an official BJCP style, right? There's like one or two styles in the guidelines that it kind of meets those thresholds, like you could get away with doing that. So I decided to do some experimenting with it, with the style. I chose this yeast because I felt like it would be a good mixture, especially like historically or regionally, in the Lithuanian area, Estonia, all that kind of stuff. Now, as far as how raw ales are made, basically you don't boil them. I pasteurize mine, bring it up to about 165 or so for about 15 minutes. After that point, I just go ahead and get it in the fermenter, let it kind of finish cooling off. So it's a no chill, no boil type of deal. The way that I do it is with my hops. I take the hop schedule that I would normally do for boiling wort, and I do it in a separate pan. So I'm boiling the hops, so I'm getting all those IBUs and the all the good benefits for it to kind of help protect the beer from in storage and kind of keep a little bit of a shelf life on it, right? I also went ahead and I throw in my yeast nutrients into that hop tea. The hop tea I bring out kind of towards the end of the mashing periods for it. I brew in a bag, so that way I can get all the materials out at one time, that being the grains and the hop material, before I go ahead and pasteurize it. So like I said, I mean, the recipe and everything will be in the description, but it's the same recipe. For water profile, I don't do anything. I just use straight RO water. From there, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or bad thing. I think kind of going forward, I might do some spring water on it, or figure out some kind of water profile. Probably shoot for something soft there. Now with the grain bill, it's 70.1% Pilsner, Belgian, 2-row, 19.7% Rye Malt, and then 10.3% Torrified Wheat. Like I said, for the hop tea, I'm using an ounce of Eastern Goldings at 60 minutes, and then an ounce of Saaz at the last 5 minutes, with a yeast nutrients going in at 10 minutes. Normally I will use a Warflock tablet for clarifications and stuff like that. I don't think it's really necessary in something like this. I mean, I'm not boiling it. I guess I could have probably thrown it into the hop tea, but I don't think it's necessary. And sometimes it's fun just to throw together something that's really quick and easy to do. That's a good drinking beer. And so, in my opinion, that's kind of like one of the appeals to raw ales, is that it's a beer that you can throw together with minimum equipment and just get to brewing something that's good, it's cheap, it's a fast thing, you can turn it around fast. Normally I'm not trying to turn around beers pretty quickly, be it to get to drink or get through them quickly, but this is one of those ones that my friends and I definitely enjoy. So it doesn't sit around too long, especially when I'm like, hey, look, I know we've got some other good beers laying around, but this is this one's doesn't have a long shelf life, so let's push through it. And you know, generally it's a pretty good beer. So if you'd like to know more about raw ales, you know, leave a comment in the sections and all that. Be sure to check out the other videos that I have linked or carded in this video. I plan on covering raw ales also in a podcast, so be on the lookout for that. The podcast will probably release before this video. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for hanging out, coming to listen to my silly shenanigans as always. I got a good bunch of subscribers coming and checking out the podcast, the other channel, my live brew days and all that. I really appreciate it. I know we're getting pretty close to 500 subs. This is going to be kind of one of the later videos. I've shot kind of quite a few of them here lately, so we'll see we'll see where we land on that versus this video. So that's pretty exciting. If you haven't taken the opportunity, please subscribe. My soft goal is to hit 500 before the end of the year, and I can't thank each and every one of you guys enough. Cheers. We'll catch you next time.